Uh, Good morning. Good morning, all. Sorry we're running a little late, but I'm running the show, right? So that's what happens. We'll start with our gathering song, which is on the back of your orders of service. I hope you all got one. They look like this. And on the back is our gathering song, if you'd care to stand for that. Okay, I'm gonna get you all wired up now. And I've got some fun accompaniment with me. 1, 2, 3, we are here together in this holy moment, and we're grateful for the winding road that brought us to this place. Again, we are here together in this holy moment, and we're grateful for the winding road that brought us to this place. Welcome and good morning. We are indeed here together at the Halifax Unitarians, unofficially, the Universalist Unitarian Church of Halifax, historically, in the sanctuary and on Zoom. My name is Margaret Galbraith. My pronouns are she and her. I will be your lay leader today. Our speaker will be Sulian William Johnson, speaking about treaties on this particular day, Treaty Day in Nova Scotia. A bit of an explanation about the Universalist Unitarian Church of Halifax. We are a progressive spiritual community. We recognize that the truths of the universe are too complex to be summed up in any one religious tradition's dogma. Instead of prescribed beliefs, here we focus on relationships, community, and responsible action in this life. We draw meaning and wisdom from many sources: nature, science, the sage teachings of old, awe for the great mystery. We offer our affirmation of the inherent worth and dignity of all, and we respect the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. Currently, we are lay-led, and also in the process of deciding whether or not to take on a new name: Halifax Unitarians, Halifax UUs. The vote will be at our SAGM later this month. We especially welcome anyone who's new or newish, in here or on Zoom. If you would care to introduce yourselves, I can bring you around the microphone. Oh, sorry. They can't hear you on Zoom.
Oh, okay. Yeah, thanks. Hi, can you hear me? Yeah. Okay. My name is Rachel Parsons, and I moved from Montreal to Halifax in June. And in Montreal, I belong to the UUCH there. Actually, they have two, but I belong to one of them. And before that, I lived in Louisiana for a time. I was working there, and I belonged to the UUCH there. So I like the UUCH. And yeah, so I'm really excited to, now that I live in Nova Scotia, I have family here, that's why I moved here. I'm really excited to get to know you all and get to know the church here. Thank you.
Welcome, Rachel. Anybody else?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Helen, and this is Jasper. And we're here for the first time.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Barbara, this is for people who haven't been before. So we're just introducing new people.
Just for new people.
Yes.
I'm
Welcome back.
definitely not new.
For those of you here in person, please stay after the service. You're welcome to join us for coffee and conversation. And on Zoom, there will be an after-service chat. For all of you of all ages, we acknowledge that not everyone participates in worship in the same way. So we welcome you to move or stand or sit on the floor if you need. During the service today, the chat function on Zoom will be open. I invite you to attend your hospitality to anyone you may not know who's joined us online. If you are not already receiving notifications from our church and would like to hear about our activities and services, please send an email to president@uuch.ca. And Rachel, we have your address, but have you been getting messages?
Not yet.
No, it didn't work. I tried it last week.
I've been trying to remember to BCC Rachel.
You did that.
Oh.
I did. I'm not on the listserv yet.
Yeah.
Right.
I
Did copy you on?
Yes.
Oh, good. Okay, well, it's a technical issue. We'll sort it out. Jessica Friesen is our music director, and Riley Friesen manages our technology. Thank you both. Our land climate crisis acknowledgement, Brian Gifford will give the acknowledgement for us today.
Thank you, Margaret. I'm just going to put this out while I talk. Make sure there's no candles there.
Well, that's not good.
That'll hold it. So we are in one of the most important times of the year to reflect on and deepen our understanding of our relationship with our Mi'kmaq neighbors. Yesterday was National Orange Shirt Day, officially known as Truth and Reconciliation Day. It is a day of reflection and action on the legacy of residential schools, which echoes through the decades to today. Every year, a new design is created for Orange Shirt Day, and proceeds from the sale of the shirt are used to support survivors. The day began in a BC community, and this shirt is the design from a few years ago. Today is Treaty Day in Nova Scotia. We are fortunate to have Sulian William Johnson, as Margaret said, to offer his reflections on what this means. Our relationship is based on treaties of peace and friendship signed in the 1700s. Today is also the beginning of Mi'kmaq History Month, when there will be many events at the library and the Mi'kmaq Native Friendship Center. We encourage you to look into these and participate in some of those if you can. We acknowledge that we are sharing land that the Mi'kmaq have stewarded for thousands of years. They did not cede the land to us, but signed treaties establishing the basis of how we could share the land. I also wish to acknowledge that this land we all share is suffering from climate change. And let us not forget that we must work together to address this crisis, including with our Mi'kmaq neighbors. We are working to understand how to be in solidarity with our Mi'kmaq neighbors on climate action and in many other ways, and I encourage you to think about this today and throughout this month. Here we go. Whoops.
Thank you, Brian. I will now light our chalice, the symbol of our faith and the signal for the entry to the more spiritual portion of our service. With opening words from the Reverend Karen G. Johnston that speak to us in the complex legacy of this weekend, as Brian reminds us, the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation yesterday, and Treaty Day in Mi'kmaq today. Let us be a people of not forgetting. As we gather this morning, let us be a people of not forgetting. Let us practice holding collective memories that might otherwise slip. Maybe I'll start that again. As we gather this morning, let us be a people of not forgetting. Let us practice holding collective memories that might otherwise slip into that enormous void that sucks at and corrodes any future we hold dear. Let us practice honoring truth-telling up from the past that must come fully into the now, lest we falter and fail, lest the whole remain in pieces. Let not our need for comfort or simplicity, for easy forgiveness or false pardon, smother the heartbreak that still needs healing. Let us practice resilience with reckoning. Let us marry memory and promise. Let us dance in the tension we find there. Let us rest in the integrity we cultivate there. Let us be partners with the possibility that emerges there. It is good we gather this morning. Our opening song is Touch the Earth, Reach the Sky, number 301 in the gray hymnal. Please stand as you're willing or able.
Touch the earth and reach the sky. Walk on shores while spirits fly high. Hold the ocean over the land. Our faith, our quest to understand. Touch the earth and reach the sky. Children ask the reason why. In our lives the answers show, and filled by our love they learn to grow. Touch the earth and reach the sky. All are born and all shall die. Life's the time left in between to follow the star to build a dream. Touch the earth and reach the sky. Hug the laughter, will the cry. May we see where we can give, for this is what it means to live. Touch the earth and reach the sky. Soar with courage ever high. Spirits join as we fly to touch the earth and reach the sky. Thanks for helping me out.
Now we have a sacred time in our service to reflect on our joys and sorrows and complex truths. A time set apart to honor the sorrows and the joys that you, the members and friends of this congregation, are living, and to acknowledge the mutual support of our community. Our communal well here, right here, will hold our thoughts, our joys and sorrows. First, I will drop one stone for all those who are here with us or in our thoughts, who are struggling mentally, physically, financially, emotionally. And I'll also drop a stone for all the joys that are in this room and online. The big joys that come along only infrequently, the little joys that we're blessed by every day if we're able to see them. If you wish to share a joy or sorrow or complex truth, please come forward. You can drop a stone into the well. You may speak your thoughts or be silent. I could also bring the mic to you if it's more difficult for you to come up. And those of you on Zoom can either signal and unmute yourselves or send a message in the chat that Riley will read.
I just want to drop a stone for Jenny, my friend, whose dad is doing really poorly today. I don't know what's happening, but anyway, it's a stone of hopeful rest.
Sylvia, it wasn't on. Can you do that again?
What? Oh, I just want to put drop a stone in the well for my friend Jimmy. His dad, who's 96, is not doing well, and that's why he's not with us today. Good luck, Jimmy.
Are there any other joys or concerns today?
This seems to be a time of big transformations for various members of my family. One granddaughter is going through struggles that she's been going through for a lot of years, but there's another round of them now, and I won't go into them. So I'll put in a stone for her. And she has 3 children who are involved as well. And my son has just sold his house, which is a huge positive transformation in his family. It has all kinds of consequences that are very good. And his daughter has just done the MCAPs, the tests for getting into medical school, and aced them, so she's really happy.
It's good for her.
My oldest surviving brother turned 92 yesterday, and by my reckoning, he is now the longest living member of my family. My parents died earlier than that. My 3 other siblings who died were almost the same age, but not quite, so he now holds the championship.
Do you want to put in a stone for them, Shripad?
Putting in a stone Shripad?
No. No. Okay.
I'll leave those stones unturned.
Nicholas is moved. Thank goodness.
Should we put in a stone for Nicholas?
Does he like his home?
He's right there.
Is there anyone else? Is there anyone online, Harley?
No. I'll put one in. I'm going to put in a stone of celebration for my mom, for the wonderful person she is and all she is to me.
Thank you. May the joys and sorrows, both those acknowledged here this morning and those held in the silent sanctuary of our hearts, weave us together in the interdependent web of community. We'll have a reflective song, Rising Green, number 1068 in our teal book. We don't need to stand for this one. We can stay seated. Sing it quietly today.
blood doth rise in the roots of yon oak. Percept doth run in my veins, boundless my soul, like open sky, where the stars forever have lain. Where the stars, where the stars, where the stars forever have lain. My hands hold leaving da-da-dum, and my side as deep as the scuzzy, beating my heart sounds the measure of woe, that of love's eternity, that of love, that of love, that of love's eternity. I feel the tides as they answer the moon, rushing on a far distant sand. Winging my song is the wind of my breast, and my love blows over the land. Everyone. And my love, and my love, and my love blows over the land. My foot carries days of the old unto new. Our dreaming shows us the way. Wondrous our faith settles deep in the earth, rising green to bring a new day. Rising green, rising green, rising green to bring a new day.
Now I have the pleasure of introducing you to Sulian William Johnson. Handsome young man over here. Just a word about how I met Sulian. We were both volunteers for the North American International Games. And I volunteered for the residence at Mount St. Vincent, which was the easiest place for me to get to, and ended up being there most of the week, as they had so many volunteers with these games that there wasn't really, you couldn't really shuffle around too much. I'm sure there were some places that needed them, but lots of places didn't. So it was very quiet at the residence. And Sulian was one of the co-leads for the team there. So he would come in about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and then we would all get to know each other, because there wasn't a lot that we had to do to work with the teenagers. So he even taught me how to play Walties, kind of. Which is the game with the bowl, the wooden bowl, and the little discs that you bounce in it. And then there's a very complicated scoring system with sticks, which I didn't catch at all. But I could bounce it, and I could get the sticks, the little discs to bop up and down. So I figured I had accomplished something. Yeah. So Sulian will tell you more about himself. Talk. So because of the microphones, Sulian, you'll have to come up here or walk around
to the
with
lectern.
this. Yeah.
See if it'll not roll into your well.
Nothing is level around here.
There we go. Okay, so Gwe, Nindeluisi Sulian Johnson, Deliwi Kebekik Trabuktok. So I'm William Johnson. I often go by my Mi'kmaq name, Sulian. It's like Julian with an S, and the A is a little long at the end. Either is good. They're both my name. So I was asked to come and talk a little bit about treaty. I guess we can go off the title slide. Yeah, so tell you a little bit about myself and where I come from. So my father's Indigenous, and he was adopted in the 60s. So I was raised out of community. And my mother is white. Her family is from Miramichi in New Brunswick. And with time, I grew to become an enthusiast of the Mi'kmaq civilization. So for the past 12 years or so, I've been learning UUCH, the Mi'kmaq language, and I've been learning to do traditional crafts. I'm a researcher. I get into history a lot and science and how these different technologies work. So I'm pleased to join you today. You can see kind of some of the things I do up there. Oh, I apologize. And I guess before I continue, so it's funny, when I was raised, I thought that wearing a hat's kind of rude. I'm wearing a hat right now. In traditional culture, there's like two different kinds of hats. There's your kind of basic everyday hat, which we just go by European standards. You take it off whenever, to show respect. And then there's hats for special occasions. And these ones are considered more like they bring honor to the occasion. So I hate wearing hats. I only wear this on special occasions. So that's why I'm still wearing it. It's I don't intend any disrespect. I'm actually kind of honoring the space by wearing it. And I'm still getting used to this, so bear with me. So I guess to tell you a little bit about kind of where we're at here, kind of what is treaty? What is Treaty Day? Well, treaties are really your agreement in trying to define what a relationship will be between two different countries. So in Mi'kmaq territory, we have the peace and friendship treaties with the Canadian government, the British Crown. And this is a series of treaties. It's not just one treaty. There's like 4 of them. One of the big ones is the Treaty of 1752. And we'll get into that in a little bit. Basically, I thought, okay, what could we, what would I talk about? So I figured I'll give you guys a little bit of kind of what these treaties look like a little bit. And then thinking like, okay, these are very big societal ideals. What can we actually do as individuals? Because that's a big society to society relationship that needs to happen. And when we look at it as a person, you kind of feel helpless a little bit. So I hope to break this down with some ideas. And I'm going to treat this kind of like when I first started learning more about my traditional culture, in that it's like, okay, don't know much, where could I go to actually like find more info? Yeah, next slide. What are we on now? I don't have any screen or anything. Oh, I can see it up here. Okay, we're all good. Yeah. Oh, there's a little, oh, right, yeah, I'm like a foot taller than the last person. I need to kind of yeah, there we go. Okay, so, so becoming a treaty person. So you need 2 people to honor an agreement for an agreement. It's kind of basic, but a lot of the way that I found this framed, it's framed as though this is something that only affects Indigenous people, but it affects us in Canadian society as well. We can't be here if there isn't any kind of acknowledgement or regulation of that relationship with the Indigenous people of their country, and it is their country. So one of the ways I've seen this framed before is that we're all treaty people, in the sense of even if we're settlers, if we're Indigenous, if we're mixed, whatever the case is, we're all part of that treaty process on one side or another. We've had to come to grips with our two societies having met and are now kind of occupying the same space, to put it mildly. So one of the, I guess, really the crux of this is like, how can we become a little bit better of a treaty person if we don't know what's happening or what's up? Yeah, thumbs. Sorry, I forgot. Yeah, thumbs up for change slide. Yeah. So there's actually a website. It's nativeland.ca. Really easy to remember. No matter where you are in Canada, they've mapped out these different areas and of what we would call Turtle Island, North America. And it's what it's done is it's like the indigenous map of North America. So you can go by treaty area. So you can find out, oh, this is all of the area that the peace and friendship treaties affect. There's language. So you can say, oh, what group speaks this language? Political groups. So what indigenous countries exist here? And so forth. So that's a really good starting resource for like, oh, what's here? For the peace and friendship treaties, actually most of the treaties, I have a link up there. Basically, if you just Google, hey, this treaty, you'll usually find there's a repository in the Canadian government website, and it'll have a transcription of the treaty, so you don't need to read like 1600s handwriting. So I have a link up there. Included is the peace and friendship treaties, and that link and like many more across Canada. So that's also a good spot to start, because how would you honor a treaty if you've never read it before? So yeah, next slide. Yes, so this is kind of an example. So someone's rewritten the Treaty of 1752, made a cute little graphic of it. And it has like literally like if you get a new piece of technology or your email and you have those long disclaimers you never read, there's literally more clauses in your phone's disclaimer than there are in the Treaty of 1752. It's literally one page. It's very simple to read once it's written out. And one of the reason why I've chosen this kind of like ripped design rather than boring you to read it verbatim right now is because one of the signatories of this treaty was a major, so he was a Mi'kmaq military leader, Jean-Baptiste Cope. And he's one of the signatories of this Treaty of 1752, one of the big treaties in the Peace and Friendship Treaty series. And he was observed after the treaty was signed, months after, that he ripped up the treaty because it wasn't being honored at all. And the spirit of it was completely broken. So he was one of the few sort of leaders, even though he was kind of a minor person in general, in the grand scheme of things. But he was upset that even him, being like a rare Mi'kmaq person at the time, who was actually willing to sit down and talk with the English and actually try to negotiate this and figure out, hey, how can we like live together and deal with this and be at peace? And it was just kind of paid lip service. So, yeah. Oh yeah, that's true. I'm like a giraffe, so it needs to be maybe like this. Yeah. I promise I won't lick it. Yeah, so one of the things that sort of makes sense is that we have to, in addition to looking at treaties themselves, like society isn't just this abstract thing, it's a bunch of people. And learning about kind of who's the other side in this and learning about ourselves is super important. Oh, there we go. This is like the sweet spot for the microphone. Yeah, okay. So one of the things that I found was very helpful was starting to subscribe and follow Indigenous media. So I have listed up here, there's some different newspapers. They exist both online and in print, whatever your needs are or preferences. So there's Guguwis News. And that comes from, that's the Mi'kmaq name Gugu, it's an owl. So Gugu is news, owl news. So that's an independent news company. Another one is the Mi'kmaq and Maliseet Nation News. So that's another source, and I have some others kind of listed up there. There's other things we can do as well. One of the things, I used to be a facilitator for an organization called Kairos, and they pioneered a educational experience called the blanket exercise. And to give you the idea of it in a nutshell, instead of talking at you and being boring and reading books, what they do is they get a bunch of blankets that represent the different territories of the various indigenous countries. And they have the participants sort of act out being free and able to move around on the land. And they go through this narrative of colonization, where we have someone like a facilitator sort of representing colonization manifest, and we have an indigenous narrator, and the land gets smaller and more policies are done, and there's like a way to actually act it out. So it's a very powerful experience, and it's an absolutely great intro for indigenous history and experience and getting a perspective that way. Yeah, what's up? Oh, amazing. Yes, yeah, I was gonna say, you look familiar, yeah. Yeah, so that's good. I guess I don't need the hard sell. Yeah. Another thing you can obviously do is support Indigenous people. There's lots of artists out there, musicians, organizers, all doing absolutely incredible and wonderful things. It's one thing to learn about the abstract evils, I guess, that have been done and cause trauma and problems in the community. It's another thing to go to someone and be like, wow, what you do is incredible. Let me support that. And be able to sort of have that strength build and go forward. And we can think of this on a few different levels. We can think of it like, oh, I'm going to go to a Maui-Omi, our word for like a gathering, like a powwow now. And I'm going to go see the dancers. I'm going to go, buy some earrings or jewelry or paintings or whatever, right? So we can think of it like an individual level, like, okay, I'm going to try and support artists and what have you that way. But there's also like organizational things that we can also help with. One of the things that's very near and dear to my heart is Nuisamk, the Mi'kmaq language. And it's kind of difficult to describe, so I'll do my best here. But especially when you have languages that are very far apart and they don't have as much common experience with each other, like, English and French, basically, we can see documents of the English and the French interacting with each other for literally like over 1,000 years now, pretty much. Whereas with Mi'kmaq and English or French, it's only been 500 years. So from learning that language with a totally different structure, there's like a completely different mindset and way of looking at things. And there's different cultural values embedded in the way that you speak, because it structures how you have to think about things. And so I very much am a supporter and would highly recommend, if you're able to, try to give some love and support and do some fundraising or something for the different language initiatives. That's usually a very good way to go. So one of the, programs I would really recommend supporting is there's a Mi'kmaq education, I'm going to call them an education board in Nova Scotia, Mi'kmaq Ginamad. We just call it MK for short, because that's a big old mouthful with lots of syllables. And they have a mentor apprentice language program. So they give some stipends for Mi'kmaq people to either mentor others in the language or be mentored, and they go to workshops and they have to do a certain number of hours in a year and that kind of deal. So really, it's one of the more effective language learning programs that's available to everyone in the province. It's Mi'kmaq, so that's pretty cool. There's some other ones. Another good one is the Katamagok Mi'kmaq Fluency Project. And that's run by actually a guy that I know, Dean Simon, and that's an online platform. And that's going to be doing incredible work. Because one of the main issues with the language is it's so critically endangered. So even just running into enough people to be like, hey, I'd like to talk with you in Mi'kmaq is difficult. So doing it online kind of eliminates all of that. So that's being started up this year, and I hope to see it go forward. One of the things that I guess I feel obligated to talk about is that, and I hope this makes sense, you can tell me if it doesn't, but there's kind of two ways I find that you can learn about a different way of life, a different way of being. And one of them is to have an opposite model presented to you. And what I mean by this is that you go to someone else that does something totally different, and you go, wow, that's very different. And you start comparing it with your own experiences and thoughts and ideas. And the other way is to really deeply reflect on what you do and try to start seeing patterns and reasons and ideas that kind of go into the whys of different things. And it's the second method that is way more difficult. But it's actually what gives us the knowledge and insight to make change. So, for instance, I'm here and I'm happy to talk with you today. For the most part, most Indigenous people the people who are knowledgeable, are able to speak about this, are articulate and are doing it, are heavily burdened around this time. And although I'm happy to have done this, it's not usually possible. And if it is, it's done under kind of a little bit of duress. So what happens is that if we learn only through comparison, and I still think it's important to have Indigenous voices up and around, but if we only learn through comparison, it puts an undue burden on Indigenous people and communities to try and show our way when that way is still under-resourced and, quite frankly, under attack and at threat of extinction. So I guess this is a slight call to also try to think about when we see something and we go, well, that's kind of horrendous. We have to kind of look into it a little bit more and go, why were people okay with this? And like really explore that and try to express like, hey, this is what they thought and felt and did. And this is how they did it. And this is why I don't think that's cool. And what I want to, how I'm going to go forward so that doesn't get repeated. So if we don't do this process, we never get to the mechanisms of how things happen and why. And if we don't understand that, we can't actually make real change. Yeah, and our next slide. So, yes, so the other thing we can do, so we've talked about, hey, here's some individual things we can do, and they're very specific to like, oh, Indigenous people doing their thing. I wanted to end on this note of, there's also programs that I've encountered, and for lack of a better term, I have this awkward like, oh, they're like collaborative experiences. But what these are is they're different programs that try to bring different people together and try to understand each other and kind of bring different people and communities together. And especially with programs like Katimavik and parts of the Canadian Roots Exchange, they're able to sort of help train youth to like be okay with dealing with other people and trying to get these different perspectives right away. So we have the Canadian Roots Exchange, which has different mentorship programs, and they do community events where they try to get people of different ethnic groups together. So African Canadians, Asian Canadians, Indigenous, settler, kind of white Canadians, I guess. And have us all just going at things and being okay to be ourselves and see what different things do we bring to the same experience. Katimavik also does this for youth and sort of young recent graduates of university. I actually participated in Katimavik myself a few years ago when I graduated university. And it was lovely. It's another program I'd highly recommend for young people to travel and being intentionally forced to live with people who are as different as possible from your own background and figure out how to communicate and like live with people and get these interesting different perspectives. Another one, which is right here in Halifax, although the other two also operate in Halifax, is Everyone, Every Day. And this program is run out of Goddington Street. It's kind of near where the Mi'kmaq Native Friendship Center's daycare is, the Child Development Center. And they have a lot of lovely community programming. They're kind of new. They've only been around for like a couple years, and they have their new space finally on Goddington. So I'd highly recommend, check them out. Go to their events, look at their calendar, and figure out if they're doing anything you'd be interested in. Because like, I can talk about all these highfalutin concepts, but at some point, you're going to have to go and like meet people and just like treat them as people and learn and grow and argue and have fun with and you know, hear out different people and not let kind of all this extra nonsense get in the way of trying to be a good friend or a good neighbor, or I'm trying to think of a polite way of saying deal with jerks. But yeah, so that's kind of, I would say, without going into a whole lot of detail and review and blah, 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 this is kind of just a little taste of what I'd say, yeah, this is kind of what I would have presented to my younger self trying to get into this and learning this. This would kind of help me get started, if assuming these all existed at the time, which they wouldn't have. So, yeah. That's really it. I can take questions. We can have a difficult or a fun conversation. I'm game for it, either right now or after. And I guess I can tell you a little bit about these instruments. So I'm a flute maker, and I've been honored to join your the band today. Yeah. Now 2. I doubled your numbers today. Thank you. No. But yeah, so one of the things I was talking about, how like sometimes we just don't have the capacity as a community to go out and do these educational events for ourselves, let alone other groups. So one of the things that I've learned about is how to make different musical instruments. So ironically, I don't have any of the ones I made with me right now, but these are ones that some of my different mentors and inspirations have made. So my flute that I have was made by David Sunnypass of Presque Isle, Maine, Aroostook. Now it's the Micmac Nation of Maine. And he's one of the last traditional flute makers alive. So I'm very honored to have spoke with him and kind of gotten some pointers and getting me started with flute making. And that was made by him from I think a lightning struck spruce tree with some walnut accents. And yeah, so now with my research, I'm kind of one of the few people around that has knowledge of Mi'kmaq specific flutes, because I sought it out for many years and eventually tracked him down and found him. So it's kind of cool, a flute from the last traditional flute maker, I guess, unless you want to count me now. And this other instrument I have here, this clapper, is a jigamahan. Now, I was telling you about the way you think about things is different in Mi'kmaq than it is English. So our language is very verb-centered. So it's all about actions that you do rather than things and what things are. So jigam is to strike. So our old instrument, which was like a birch bark moose collar on steroids, was kind of our version of a drum. You'd hit it with your hand or a stick, you know, it's a big birch bark cone. This here, because it's also, you're striking with it, has the same name, but it's a totally different like percussion instrument. And this comes from a very specific time when we started making fancy splint ash baskets for trade to tourists in the late 17 and 1800s. And at this time, we also had our culture and I guess if you want to call our traditional culture a religion. Oh, I can go on about that. That's a whole lecture in and of itself. But our traditional practices were banned. And one of the things that was specifically targeted was gatherings, dances, and music. So what happened was okay, we couldn't have this giant birch bark cone that everyone within a kilometer can see and hear. So we needed some other kind of instrument that gave us plausible deniability. So what happens is when you're making these splints for your baskets, you're cutting your board of wood and you're pounding it with a hammer, and eventually the layers separate just because of the stage of growth it's at. And then you're left with this little ugly end that isn't long enough to make your baskets out of, and you kind of want it attached so that you can cut them to length without having to hold them, right? So we have these little pieces here, so you can use it as a clapper, but at the same time, if a police officer or later on when we were put onto reserves, we had an Indian agent that was kind of the dictator of the reserve by the Canadian government. So if the Indian agent came by or a police officer or what have you, you could just have it in your wood pile and just say, oh, it's just scrap. It's from the end of my basket. Like, what are you talking about? We weren't hooting and hollering. You're hallucinating. So it comes from a kind of a difficult story, but it's something that we celebrate now as a distinct Mi'kmaq instrument that's sort of special to us and our experiences. So yeah, these are kind of two of the instrument. One more commonplace that we know a little bit more about, and one that's kind of obscure and specific to me. So yeah. Oh, absolutely. So I'll play for you. So I had a dream one day. This was before I ever ran into David and started making flutes. And I had this weird, ugly stick I came across. And I mean, it was ugly. And I realized it was a musical instrument. And I was like, oh, what do I do with this? And I call this like the weight of freedom. Like I could do everything and I had no guidance and I ended up doing nothing in the dream. I was just wondering at it. So later on when I got a flute, I said, oh, this is the exact same feeling. I have no teacher, I have no structure, I have no nothing. What do I do with this? So I'm thinking back like, okay, elementary school recorder, what did we do? Well, we learned a simple song like Hot Cross Buns. And I'm like, okay, what would be the Mi'kmaq Hot Cross Buns? So while I'm doing history research, I find out that this he was a lawyer, a French lawyer in the 1600s named Marc Lescarbot, had written down 3 songs that a chief back in the day and warrior named Membertou had sung. And because he was a lawyer, he had some basic education in music. So he was able to write the lyrics and the do-re-mi's for it. So it doesn't tell us anything about like the rhythm, but it told us kind of what the note should be and his best interpretation of Mi'kmaq, what the lyrics would be. And later on, another missionary, so this was like a priest doing his different rounds in Acadia. His name was Sigar Theodat. He was replacing another missionary who had died. So he traveled through here, picked up some different music from different like colonial records basically of the time. And he went over and he ended up doing a mission with the Huron over in Ontario. So he so his book was like 99 Huron carols and 3 Suriquois, which is an old Basque name for Mi'kmaq. It means the saltwater people, and 3 Suriquois hymns. And these 3 hymns were Membertou's 3 songs. So because he lived slightly later than Lescarbot and had much more intensive music training, he was able to write it in mensural notation. So they start kind of looking like music notes. They're very square. They're connected in weird ways, but for someone who's a nerd about these kind of historical, like sheet music, I guess, they were able to look at this and go, oh, so we can get the proper lyrics from Lescarbot, and we can get the rhythm from Sigurd Theodat. So I said, okay, so now I have 3 whole chants I can learn on my flute if I wanted to. I'll save you my attempt at singing. But yeah, so I'll play the first song of member 2, and I'll do a couple repetitions of the chant. So.
Do you mind if I record it?
Oh, not at all.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'll see. I know from doing some different songs at powwows, it's weird. You'd think the optimal spot to have. Oh, I guess it's only the bottom. Oh, yeah, because that has the accordion. Okay, that's fine. Anyways, intuitively, you would think, oh, the end of the flute would be the good spot for the microphone, but it's not. The sound is actually made up here at the splitting edge. So this should be the better spot to have it. So we'll see how I do. A song so old it's new. It was recorded in 1609. At different Maui Omi powwows, I would often give you the same kind of speech talking about the history of this song and how important it is, but I wouldn't name it. And I would play some random pop song like Baby Shark or... So yeah, Wilalioch, I thank you all and for having me, and I guess I'll be tooting for the rest of the service here, and then I'll chat. I'll be available to chat for a bit after. So, yeah.
Lower the microphone.
Sorry, I should have put it back.
It's okay. Thank you so much, Zulian. That was fascinating. And the longer you got talking, the better it got, right? It was just so interesting, all the different aspects of Mi'kmaq life that you touched on, and inspiring. I had planned for some congregational response time, but we're running a little late, but Sulian will be able to stay afterwards, so I think if you save your questions until afterwards, we'll do that now.
Irene.
Yes, Irene?
Yeah, number 2 was 100, around 100, when he was met by the French. And
Who was?
Member 2.
Oh, sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Yeah.
So number 2 was around 100 when he was met by the French. And they liked him because he only had one wife, which was not usual. So, and they made him go through a Christianizing service. So they liked that too.
Thank you, Irene. We have a final song here, The Fire of Commitment, number 1028 in Singing the Journey. This is a rouser.
So this is lively, so you can stand if you want, and you can dance. I expect you to sing. No, you can do whatever you want. From the light of days remembered burns a beacon bright and clear, guiding hands and hearts and spirits into faith set free from fear. When the fire of commitment sets our minds and souls ablaze, when the hunger and our passion meets to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin. From the stories of our living rings a song both brave and free, calling pilgrims still to witness to the life of liberty. When the fire of commitment sets our minds and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion meets to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin. Of youthful vision comes a new prophetic voice, which demands a deeper justice built by our courageous choice. Everyone, when the fire of commitment sets our soul and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion meet to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin. That was awesome.
And now a word for our sponsors. That would be you. So here's a reminder that the ongoing functions of our congregation require your support in whatever way you can manage. If you can offer financial support, the best way to do that is through support for our annual pledge drive each fall, which is coming up, and you'll be hearing more about that. If you aren't able to support us in that way, you can contribute cash each week in our collection plate. Use the envelopes if you want to designate your donation to a particular cause, such as the Saturday brunch, or to our very old roof. Just make certain to write the cause and your name on the envelope to get credit for your donation. Or you can always send your contribution to treasurer@uuch.ca. If you want to contribute time and talent, there are several committees described in this month's newsletter who would be happy to hear from you. And committee doesn't mean you have to go to a meeting every week. You know, we have a range of types of committees and types of involvement. So now announcements. We have the Thanksgiving potluck next Monday afternoon. It was a little confusing in the description, the newsletter, about whether it was Sunday or Monday, but it will be Monday afternoon. At 3. I thought Linda was going to be here, but I guess she's not. There's a sign-up sheet somewhere. Faith? Oh, right there. Yes, Faith.
The meal is being served at 3. But if you're bringing food, you're encouraged to come a bit earlier so that we can get it all set out. Please bring your food ready to roll. We don't want to have to put things in the oven and wait for them to heat up. So make them already warm when they arrive and ready to be set out. Thank you.
We do have our semi-annual general meeting at the end of this month. Did Pam want to say anything about that, or there will be information going out about it? Yeah. Are there any other announcements about?
That you already did two of the ones I was gonna make. We're still looking for people for RE, to volunteer with RE, which is our religious exploration program for children and youth, because, you know, we really need to get back on the ball with that. And we have a young person with us today who sat through an entire service, which is great, but we really need to get our act together. So just contact me and I'll send out the email again asking for the assistance to revamp this program. On Saturday, this coming Saturday afternoon, is the celebration of life for Marie Davis. And I would also, the other thing that we're trying to organize is Holiday Bazaar, so get in touch with me if you're interested in volunteering for that. What have I forgotten, Faith? Oh, I thought you had your hand up. Oh, okay. And Mary Lou has something.
Bring you the mic, Mary.
Trade your places. The Ministerial Search Committee did send out a survey to everybody who was online. The response has been tepid. And I remind you all of the saying that we hear at election time: if you don't vote, don't complain. We are a very diverse congregation in just about any sector you want to do an analysis. So what you have to say is important. The deadline is midnight tonight. If you have it on your computer and haven't dealt with it, go home and do it. I do have some hard copies here, and I'll be around after church. You can do it and give it to me. But it's important to participate. We all know that, so go, just do it.
The committee.
I also have a couple announcements, actually. So the choir is not happening because I don't have enough members, so that sucks. So if you want some more interesting music and you want the choir to continue, please email me. Also, we are starting our Soulful Sundown. We had done that a while back, and it's a spiritual musical service that I am doing at the end of October. So if you have any musicians that you know, local musicians who have a more spiritual take on music, we want to have just a safe space here, I think on a Saturday night at the end of October. I'll give you more details about that. And I would love to have some volunteers set up now that we can be together. And so I will send an email out about that. And I'm done talking. 2 p.m.
2 p.m. for Marie's service. Did somebody else have an announcement?
for Marie Davis's service.
Okay. So,
Barbara, you have a question?
Would one of you explain to me later exactly what the vote is about?
Yes.
Thank you.
yes, Barbara just wants clarification on the vote we were talking about, so we'll explain that later. So I'll now extinguish the chalice to close our service. While we must not forget the truths of the past, we must use this legacy to work towards the peace of the future. In the words of a previous UUCH minister, Frederick E. Gillis, may the love which overcomes all differences, which heals all wounds, which puts to flight all fears, which reconciles all who are separated, be in us and among us, now and always. Go in peace. And our Here Together closing.
So let's sing our final We've Spent Time Together while we walk out of here. 1, 2, 3. We have spent time together, and these holy moments give us strength to go down the winding road until we meet again. One more time. We have spent time together. There we go. And these holy moments give us strength to go